This woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her own.
Megyn's critique of Hillary focuses more on a broader disconnect between motivation and public appeal than it does on any particular topic. According to her, Hillary's issue was that she put so much effort into projecting warmth and genuineness that it became apparent. Many of those situations felt staged rather than organic. According to Megyn, the true challenge was a continual inability to appear sincere rather than just bad luck or policy. She was more likely to be undermined by her own carefully cultivated image than by her competitors.
Stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And
that's what makes Megyn's more comprehensive image so powerful. For years, Hillary cultivated the air of a legendary figure whose position at the top seemed almost inevitable. But Megyn flips that story on its head. The same refined facial expressions, methodical delivery, and practiced confidence that formerly implied authority are now perceived as indicators of fragility. The idea of strength is no longer there in this version. Instead, it begins to resemble a complex performance that is about to fall apart.
Scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset. And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist. That's what this scandal's about. Pieces of it we knew. New pieces are coming in by the day thanks to these declassifications. And it's...
Hillary frequently appeared to campaign as though the president belonged to her by trajectory rather than by persuasion, which is one of Megyn's most insightful insights. The campaign may appear as though the result is predetermined rather than courting voters. People don't want to be informed what is inevitable, according to Megyn. They want to be won over, not controlled. Furthermore, Hillary's apparent shock at being rejected simply served to confirm the idea that she had never completely grasped the gap between herself and the public.
Weird and I think shitty marriage. I don't think she has a husband who is in love with her or faithful to her. And I think I can't really blame him because she seems to have accepted this behavior since the inception of their marriage. And so past his prologue, you're going to get what you tolerate. You know, what you permit, you promote. She spent all of her daughter's upbringing away, at work, at the law firm.
That's why the 2016 loss has such impact, according to Megyn. Rich donations, celebrity endorsements, institutional support, and the trust of a large portion of the political and media elite helped Hillary enter the contest. Everything about the competition implied that she should win. Who was largely disregarded by the elite for the majority of the contest, defeated her. Megyn portrays that result as a breathtaking break that disproved presumptions about the boundaries of American politics, rather than as a typical defeat.
Very different ballgame today than it was even 4 years ago, never mind 8 or 10 years ago when she was doing all this. And back to Hillary, you know, the whole, she has a hat she's tweeted herself out wearing, but her emails. She's tried to turn it into this ridiculous joke, like, oh, but the moon landing, like you nutcases who are still railing about this made up.
Megyn continues by highlighting what she believes to be the main contradiction in Hillary's public persona. Her resume as First Lady, Senator, Secretary of State, and presidential nominee was unmatched by many politicians. The requirements seemed hefty on paper. However, Megyn argues that qualifications by themselves could not motivate voters. Hillary seemed to lack the attraction that she possessed in terms of experience. Megyn compares the 2016 run to a highly advertised blockbuster that was supported by enormous sums of money and publicity, only to let the audience down when they actually saw it.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Wallace and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk.
Megyn incorporates Hillary's frequent rebrandings into her criticism as well. Every stage appeared to have a new catchphrase, a new presentation, and another effort to change the public's perception of her. Megyn claims that the pattern started to feel exhausted rather than rejuvenated. As interest gradually waned, it seemed as though the same product kept coming back in new packaging. Hillary didn't seem to be unbeatable by then. She appeared to be an example of how assurance can turn into a vulnerability when things don't go as planned.
And Chelsea Clinton is not a nice person. And I think really is just sort of getting along based on the family name at this point. And so now she's got a daughter who I guess married a rich guy, but is struggling in her own right. Hillary's in a loveless marriage. She probably doesn't have a lot of real friends, just people who are glamours. And so she absolutely does have to write a fifth memoir and go on MSNBC and be told that she's amazing.
The issue of responsibility is another theme in Megyn's roast. She contends that rather than focusing on her own shortcomings, Hillary frequently attributes defeat to outside factors. Megyn claims that the list of offenders keeps growing and includes the FBI, James Comey, Russia, misogyny, media narratives, and misinformation. Her argument is that people start to worry that the explanations are hiding something more fundamental once the blame is spread to everyone else. If someone else is to blame for every loss, then maybe the main mistake is going unnoticed.
She did need to distract from that email scandal, which was around her neck like an albatross. Trust me, we were covering it every night on the Kelly File at Fox News. She had clearly violated the law with that homebrew server that had been accessed by foreign agents. She compromised national intelligence information. She did things she would never have allowed anybody.
Megyn continues that argument into Hillary's post-2016 years, depicting them as a protracted reopening of the same wound. Instead of going out of the public eye, Hillary kept coming back to the spotlight through documentaries, interviews, memoirs, and public comments. She also repeatedly ran for office. Megyn portrays this as the actions of someone who is still awaiting an answer from an audience that has moved on. Even the sporadic hint that she could still play a part in saving national politics is presented as proof that she has never come to terms with the fact that her pivotal moment may be over.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Wallace and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration is.
She then expands her criticism by highlighting what she perceives to be a gap between Hillary's public record and her rhetoric. Megyn contends that although Hillary regularly portrayed herself as a champion of women's rights and an opponent of injustice, detractors have long questioned whether those ideals were always upheld. At pivotal points, maintaining authority appeared to be more important than upholding the language she employed. Megyn also highlights the conflict that arises when one operates inside elite, privileged, and wealthy circles while publicly denouncing inequity.
Just weighed in publicly again on why she lost. And just in case you were thinking it was because she didn't go to Wisconsin, you are wrong. It is you, women of America. It is your fault. She now sits down for an interview and decides that the reason she didn't win is American females. That they didn't like that she wasn't perfect.
In the center of that contradiction is Bill Clinton. Megyn contends that Hillary's choice to stick with Bill politically, despite years of controversy and accusations of wrongdoing, undermined her claims to moral authority on women's problems. In that account, principle was subordinated to political preservation. Megyn links this discrepancy to Hillary's more general issues with public speaking, making fun of the stiff body language, tense laughter, and excessively prepared comedy that frequently gave the impression that she was controlled rather than natural. She claims that the result was a figure who found it difficult to seem at ease, impulsive, or totally human.
Dare she? She puts out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, "Bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy." The nerve of this woman to have committed federal crimes and to have gotten off because James Comey didn't have the spine to bring it. And now seeing her political opponent get a different result, and trying to take some sort of I told you, but my emails, that was never a thing, lap is golf.
Megyn also disagrees with the notion that Hillary's ascent was solely due to her own efforts. She contends that she had an unmatched national platform during Bill Clinton's administration, opening doors that would not have been possible otherwise. Megyn claims that when disappointment turned into disdain, particularly toward working-class Americans who failed to support her, Hillary's issues with regular voters worsened. It's one thing to fail to win people over, but Megyn suggests that suggesting that they weren't appreciative of her simply made her feel more superior and distant.
And that leaves me back to Schellenberger here. This is page 4 of his report. He says, he writes as follows: the Russian reports, again, that the Dutch spied on, that we got our hands on, also claimed, and listen to this, I mean, you probably already know this stuff, Glenn, but claimed that Attorney General Loretta Lynch, okay, this is back in 2016, people, remember, Obama's president, Loretta Lynch is his Attorney General, and her DOJ/FBI are investigating the Hillary Clinton email scandal. And also now we learn simultaneously working with the Hillary Clinton campaign to bury that scandal in favor of.
By the end, when Megyn brings up crises like Benghazi, Whitewater, and the email server, they are more indicative of a trend than individual instances. Rarely was issue resolved in her version of Hillary's career. Instead, it was simply tolerated until the next round. Megyn's conclusion hits so hard because of this. Megyn portrays Hillary as a symbol of ambition hardened into entitlement, someone who pursued power so relentlessly and reinvented herself so frequently that she ultimately lost the trust of the public she most needed, while Hillary may have wanted history to remember her as the woman who broke through barriers.